Good afternoon, everybody. It is your good buddy Ardent Party, and it is Terra Nova Tuesday. So today, as you can tell from the thumbnail, we're going to do a little bit of a study of Newfoundland politics. And I thought the best place to start would be with looking at the active parties. Unfortunately, due to very recent events, there's a little bit of bad news to be discussed. When I intended to do this, when I first conceived of doing this piece, there were in fact 4 provincial political parties. Unfortunately, on March the 30th, the Newfoundland Alliance Party deregistered itself. This is the press release from the Newfoundland Labrador government. The Office of the Chief Electoral Officer advises that the Newfoundland Alliance have voluntarily deregistered as a political party in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador in accordance with Section 281A of the Elections Act 1991, and that deregistration is effective immediately. At some point in the future, I'm hoping to have some contact with... let me just take that off screen again. I'm hoping to have some contact with Graydon Pelly, the fellow who founded this party when he split from the Progressive Conservative Caucus here in Newfoundland. I'm very hopeful that he will actually respond to my tweet. Perhaps he'll take a look at some of my other material and go, probably not a great look. Who knows? And I do apologize if the gleam off my freshly shaven head is giving anyone trouble. I will endeavor to make it a little better, and that, of course, failed. There we go. Ring lights are ring lights. It's actually quite bright in my eyes, though. I think I actually turned that up too high. All the way down, add 1. Okay, there we go. So, unfortunately, we won't be talking about 4 political parties, but only 3. And those 3, which you can see from this graphic, and I do apologize, I am using Wikipedia as my main resource for this, mostly because I don't believe this is going to result in a lot of, Newfoundland politics being such a niche subject matter, and not really being of huge interest to a lot of people, I kind of doubt that there's any sort of editorial shenanigans going on behind the scenes with these articles. So currently, we have 3 parties represented in the Newfoundland and Labrador House of Assembly. The Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, which we'll get into the progressive part of that. That terminology, Progressive Conservative, is actually very old. It is not really supposed to be connected with what's known as progressivism these days. And, of course, the third one we have is the Newfoundland and Labrador New Democrat Party. You may be getting a feel for my particular political bent rather hurriedly. And in the future, I will, in fact, do pieces on these other articles here. The historical parties in the province of Newfoundland since 1949, during the National Convention, and the Dominion of Newfoundland parties. I think it'll be a useful bit of study. But first, we'll start with potentially the worst, the Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador. And, of course, the Liberals are a political party in the province, party's provincial branch, affiliated to the federal Liberals. It's probably one of the bad things, one of the worst things for our province. The Liberals were re-elected to a majority government in the 2021 provincial election, and there were no shenanigans whatsoever, I promise, I swear. I'm on YouTube. In any case, just to have a quick look through some of this. Get back up there. Okay, so the Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, here's the Liberal logo. It's basically a reflection of the Canadian logo with the Newfoundland flag. The leader and currently Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador is Andrew Furey, a politician and surgeon who's serving as the 14th Premier of Newfoundland. Which may be a little bit of a misnomer, given that since Confederation might be the more accurate term. And just give me just a moment and I'm just doing a quick bit of research here. Since 1949. Okay, I just had to quickly scroll through. Okay, so technically, Andrew Furey is not the 14th Premier of Newfoundland, because we did go through a radical shift in the 1940s, where we left the status of an independent country and became our own country. And since then, there have been, what am I looking at? Chairman of the Commission, Premiers of the province. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay, no. I apologize. I did, in fact, have that wrong. Since Confederation, Andrew Furey is, in fact, the 14th Premier. Let me see here. We had one Premier from the 1st of April 1949, Joey Smallwood, until the 18th of January 1972. So 23 years he was in power. We apparently decided to keep on the caretaker from the caretaker government. I have an issue, but we won't talk about that. The next Premier was Frank Moores from January 72 to March 79. The next, Brian Peckford, who was Premier when I first came to being aware of politics, from 79 to 89, and he is actually currently, and I will actually put that on screen, Alfred Brian Peckford is a Canadian politician who served as third Premier of Newfoundland from March 26th to March 22nd, 79 to 89. A member of the PC party, Peckford was first elected. That's not really that important. Since Mr. Peckford, of course, Tom Rideout was briefly Premier for March, April, May, less than 3 months. He was appointed prior to an election, which saw Clyde Wells come in. Clyde Wells, of course, if you remember the Meech Lake Accord, you'll remember he created some issues there. Brian Tobin, the Tobinator, the Turbinator. He had a famous run-in with the Spanish fishing fleet. He was Premier after leaving federal politics from 96 to 2000. When he left, Beaton Tulk, yes, I know how that name sounds, was the Premier from October to February, so that would have been October, November, December, January, February, less than 5 months. Roger Grimes, briefly. Danny Williams, probably one of the more famous Premiers we've had in recent times. Kathy Dunderdale was appointed and then elected. She would have been the first female Premier of the province. And she did, in fact, end up being the first elected female because she did win an election. Tom Marshall was briefly appointed from January to September 2014. I'm not sure why it was quite so long. But then Paul Davis was also appointed, as Tom Marshall, if I recall correctly, had to leave because of some family issues. Paul Davis, of course, failed to win election. He lost to Dwight Ball, who served for about 5 years. And since August 2020, Andrew Furey, who was appointed as well, but has now apparently won our 50th assembly, is now our Premier. But just to scroll through the liberal lexicon, fabricon, facta box, whatever the hell we'll call it, the stat block, I suppose. This just talks about where everything is located, the ideology of the Liberal Party. They're not exactly classical liberals anymore. And to be fair, to call them centrist is stretching credibility a little bit. And of course, red is the Liberal color here in Canada. And that party originated in 1948 as the Newfoundland Confederate Association, which was the party formed and led by Joey Smallwood that wanted Confederation. Sorry. I apologize. English is not that easy a language, even for those of us who were born speaking it. His party was basically devoted to the idea of confederation with Canada. Oops. don't wish to revisit the Smallwood era or any of the other eras. We're just going to look at the party itself at this point. Goodness. Okay, we're looking at the performance of the Liberals. In 1949, Newfoundland had 28 seats, provincially. And in 2021, we have 40. Our peak appears to have been 52 from 79 to 93. Our peak was 52 seats. And in not much of a shock, Clyde Wells took a massive majority of those in 93. Jerry Reed. I'm not even sure who Jerry Reed is. Oh, he was another interim leader, but that was the leader of the party. So yeah, that's that. Really, there's not much more to say about all of these. They've been majority, minority, opposition, all possible positions that a party could hold. But to really call them liberal at this point, it's, in my opinion, a bit of a stretch, because this is the party that basically forced everyone into various restrictions that may or may not have been acceptable under our charter rights in the last few years because of the unspecified virus of unknown origin. I really hate YouTube sometimes. But amongst other things, one of my biggest issues with the Liberals is that this is the party that is generally in power when Newfoundland gives things up. When Churchill Falls was negotiated, I believe it was a Liberal government that was in. I really had better check that before I end up running my mouth about something that I shouldn't. There we are. And there. Just checking when the Churchill Falls development negotiations began. 69, when the contract was created. And that would have been Smallwood at the time. So, yeah, the premier who basically said, well, not basically, it's pretty much verbatim, that joining Canada was the closest he could get us to communism at the time. Yeah. Not socialism. He straight out said communism. Yeah. Fucking intellectual class. Just kidding. I don't think Joey was really all that much of an intellectual. He was more of a, well, my opinions on Joey Smallwood will wait for another video. Just making a note to make sure I do that. Okay, so back to the thumbnail. We can now scratch off the Liberal Party. And we'll move along to the one I hate the most, which is the New Democrats, or as I like to refer to them, the Socialists. Social democracy is a political, social, and economic philosophy within socialism, thank you, that supports political and economic democracy. I will point out, this is Wikipedia, one of the most leftist websites out there, and even they are forced to admit that democratic socialists, or social democrats, are still socialist. So it's a provincial section. They are also allied with the federal party. Good gods, why? Formed in 1961 as the successor to the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. One moment. I have to open that link in a separate tab, because I don't believe I have that in my list of defunct. What am I looking at there? Co-op. I do not. So apparently Wikipedia has failed me a little bit by not including a link to that party. I will poke them there for now. That's the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, which was a... That's interesting. Just a moment. Okay, I have to do a quick little bit of research here. Okay, so that was founded in 1932. That was a federal party. Okay, so here's my big issue with this here. It was never a Newfoundland party, this Cooperative Commonwealth. It was, well, actually, it was connected to the Newfoundland Democratic Party, which I do believe I have a link to for a future video. Let me just check. I do not. Interesting. I will copy that and do a quick search on the other window. My apologies. I didn't intend to get bogged down in this. Okay. And of course, all it's showing me is links to the Newfoundland New Democratic Party, but that's not what I'm looking for. So, let's try. Okay, it's just refusing to give me anything but New Democrats. Whatever. So I'm guessing this is because the Newfoundland and Labrador New Democratic Party is the successor to the Newfoundland Democratic Party. There is no separate link. First appeared in the 1962 provincial election. Party won its first seat in 1984. Now, let me give you guys a little bit of, I suppose, extracurricular. A lot of people are talking about the Federal People's Party of Canada as not being a contender. We're looking at a provincial party that existed for 22 years. I'd like to know where they were getting their funding. Before they ever won a seat in a provincial legislature. Interesting. And yet, when you look at, say, the Federal Green Party or the PPC, well, the PPC especially, the People's Party of Canada, a lot of people will talk about how it doesn't make sense to vote for them, or voting for them is throwing away your vote. No, it's absolutely not. What it is voting your conscience. And one of the things we have here in Newfoundland is a terrible tradition, a terrible, terrible tradition of voting along family or religious or other lines. Basically, essentially, before the election is ever called, your vote has been decided. For the love of God, stop doing that. Vote your conscience. If your conscience, when you look at the policies and the platform of a party, if your conscience goes, yeah, I agree with all that, then by all means. But if you are going to actually vote, if you're going to exercise your franchise, please do it in the responsible manner. The citizen's obligation is to make an informed choice when you vote. So don't just vote for whoever your dad used to vote for, or don't vote Liberal because, my family's always voted Liberal since Confederation. Don't do that shit. Don't do that anymore. You need to stop doing that. Now, we'll go back to the NDP, who, yes, I absolutely loathe. And not least because of their last leader. Anyway, the party has been in the legislature since 1990, consistently elected, apparently, or consistently represented. The current leader of the party is Jim Dinn. He's a St. John's member. There's not really a lot to say. Kyle Reese, apparently when he's not fighting Terminators, he takes his time to spend some time in Newfoundland, running the Newfoundland Democratic Party. Newfoundland New Democrats. Headquarters is in St. John's, obviously. Membership is 2,600 people. Ideology is social democracy. We've already looked at that. That is a left-wing democracy, a left-wing philosophy. They don't lean to the left. They are hard left. They're fucking socialists. Come on. Actually, I'm kind of glad that I decided to do this, because I'm having some entertainment at Wikipedia's expense now. And of course, their colors are the same as they're orange, white, and blue. Pay no attention whatsoever to the fact that matches the Rhodesian flag. Or is that South Africa? Sorry, South African flag. The older South African flag, that is. Yes. If I can get the image up in a bit of a hurry here. Where are we? Here we are. So yeah, this is the old South African flag, which I think is actually quite a nice looking flag. It's very simple, except for the centerpiece. But yeah, it's kind of ironic that the Newfoundland New Democrats use the same colors as the flag of a country that they would probably absolutely excoriate given the opportunity. So Lorraine Michael was elected leader in 2006. She led during 07 and 11 elections. They improved the party's share of the vote, but I don't think she ever really did a lot. I don't think they really gained a lot of seats. And of course, this is just more talk about who's been in charge, things like that. Alison Coffin. Yeah. If you've ever seen footage of Chrystia Freeland bobbing her head around, you really ought to look up footage of Alison Coffin if you want to see a horrible example of professional politics. So the founding of the party as the successor to the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation and the Newfoundland Democratic Party occurred in 1955 when Sam Drover... Do we have a picture of Sam? We do have a picture of Sam. He's a smug-looking little bugger, and he stood next to that rat-faced fink. Joey Smallwood. Yeah, I'm not exactly good about keeping my political opinions to myself. Drover was leader of the new provincial party, which fielded 10 candidates, mostly rural, in the 56th provincial election. They won no seats. Drover lost his own riding and won 237 votes to the Liberal candidates more than 6 times. The party did not run candidates in the 59 election, but supported the Newfoundland Democratic Party. This party had been organized by the Newfoundland Federation of Labour, another socialist organization, with the support of the other socialist organization. The Canadian Labour Congress. In order to protest the decertification of the International Woodworkers of America, which should be something I was angry about, but I'm not, because I'm a woodworker, but I'm not a union guy. The NDP ran 18 candidates in 59. In 61, the Federal Party was founded with the merger of this... Oh, I see now. Okay, the Canadian Labour Congress was actually a political party? Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why a labor union felt the need to join with a political party. And the NDP the Newfoundland Democratic Party followed suit, becoming the Newfoundland New Democratic Party with Ed Finn Jr., leading them into the 62 provincial election, and then Calvin Normore in 66. This is just going to be results. Peter Fenwick, Jack Harris. I've actually had some contact with Jack Harris. He's a great guy, lovely to talk to. Unfortunately, our political opinions run extremely counter to each other. Lorraine Michael, Earl McCurdy, Alison Coffin again, Jim Dinn. The party policies: respect and support for families. Well, yeah, expanding prescription drug coverage. Yeah, how are you going to pay for that? Increase to the minimum wage. Yeah, because that won't put a freeze on new businesses. Better benefits for new parents. Provide new parents with an additional $1,000 a month by topping up parental leave benefits to 80%. more tax money. Yeah. And it does not say new families. It says new parents. I'd like to point that out. They want to restore $7 million in funding, or they wanted to. This is from the 2015 platform. Okay, so this is relatively irrelevant stuff. Representation, as you can see, they were from 56 until 85 before they elected a single member. Then, of course, fell out of I want to say Parliament. It's not Parliament. It's the legislature. It used to be the National Assembly. Currently, the big members are Jim Dinn, who is the party leader and elected in St. John's Centre, Jordan Brown, elected in Labrador West, and Leela Evans, who left the Tories late last year and joined the NDP. And Jordan Brown, I believe, is a very young fellow. In any case, so that's the NDP, the Socialists. As you can tell, I don't have a lot of respect for them either. And, of course, the last group we're going to cover today is the Progressive Conservatives. Now, I will give a note about that. The Progressive Conservative Party used to be a federal party here in Canada. But in the 90s, late 80s, 90s, Preston Manning formed the Reform Party out west. They ended up merging with the Progressive Conservatives to become the Conservative Party of Canada in about 95 or so. Excuse me. And the reason for that was because the PCs, the Tories at the time, were basically destroyed in the election when Kim Campbell was taking over from Brian Mulroney, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Eventually, of course, they did the new party, what should be called the PC Reform Party, but is known as the Conservative Party of Canada. Questionable as well. They eventually did form government. Stephen Harper was one of the prime ministers that they had forth. Actually, I think he may have been the only prime minister from that new party, from that merged party that became prime minister so far. Pierre Poilievre seems to have a good shot at it this time, though I'm somewhat leery of Poilievre's policies. I do very much support Maxime Bernier, and I would hope that a lot of you do as well. Don't just take it from me. Like I said earlier, go and do your research. Go look into the People's Party of Canada. Look at the the CPC's platform, and, see what you think. And not just that, but both Poilievre and Bernier have YouTube and, I believe, possibly Rumble accounts. I know Bernier does. I don't know that Poilievre does. And I will point out that Rumble is a Canadian company. Why is a Canadian politician not on that platform? But anyway, I don't wish to digress any more than I already have. So the Progressive Party of Canada, the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland and Labrador is a provincial political party in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. The party was founded in 1949, Confederation, and most recently formed the government from 2003 to 2015. The party has served as the official opposition since, and on March 31st, 2021, David Brazel was appointed interim leader. And I do believe he is still interim leader. There may even be a picture of David Brazel. It's not a very good picture. In fact, that looks like a party picture, which is unfortunate. Let me just see if I can find a better picture of David Brazel, because I don't think it's fair to only use that image. Here we go. This is David Brazel. Of course, that kind of tells you something else about Wikipedia and their attitude. The president is Shane Skinner, the leader of the party, currently the highest ranked elected member in legislature is David Brazel, as I said. So the ideology is progressive conservatism, which is a political stop that. Oh, screw you. It's a political ideology that combines conservative and progressive policies. The initial origins of progressivism come from Western Europe during the 18th century and the Age of Enlightenment, when it was believed, we're going to move past that. They're also red Tories. It's an adherent of a center-right, not really, more centrist, or paternalistic conservative political philosophy. Again, we see Wikipedia's leanings. It's not paternalistic, in my opinion anyway, but the Tory tradition, which is predominantly in Canada but also in the UK, this philosophy tends to favor communitarian social policies while maintaining a degree of fiscal discipline. Okay, let me put that in simple terms for you guys. Fiscally conservative, socially liberal. That's a progressive conservative. Which, actually, now that I just said that out loud, I really don't like them. And now I'm seeing the factions below that, and I like them even less. So liberal conservatism, which is a bit of a misnomer, a bit of an oxymoron, is a political ideology combining conservative policies with liberal stances. Now, you tell me how that is not centrist when they describe this as center-right. Center to center-right. No. With the way the Overton window is moved, that's definitely center-left to center. Especially when you add this in. Social democracy. So apparently, we've got socialists fucking everywhere. And liberal conservative is conservative policies with liberal stances. Yeah, that doesn't work. Can't work, for that matter. They do have an official website. I'm sure the other parties had an official website as well. I'm just not bothering to look at them today. The party originated before Newfoundland's confederation with Canada as the Responsible Government League. And that was a movement in the Dominion. The RGL campaigned for responsible government to return. In other words, the RGL was campaigning for Newfoundland to return to being an independent country. After this was suspended in 1934. In the 1948 referendum, Newfoundland narrowly voted to join Canada as its 10th province. Anyway, moving along. I'll just move along for today. So following the referendum, federal parties started organizing in Newfoundland. Most members of the RGL decided to align themselves with the the PC Party of Canada, not the PCP Party of Canada, to become the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland. Of course, they were defeated by Smallwood repeatedly. The Tories won under Moores, 21 seats. Let me see. I should have their Peckford era, which was probably one of the best eras. A lot of these names I remember when I was younger. Peckford himself, his premiership was heavily focused on resource development. Excuse me just a moment. My apologies. A little bit of a dry throat, and I forgot to bring water down with me. In any case, Peckford was focused on the good of the province. I don't think any of the other political parties have ever been, and I don't think his party is any longer. Moving along. What was he trying to renegotiate? Oh, the Upper Churchill contract. Yeah. Look at that. The federal government unwilling to intervene against Quebec. Big shock. Defeat in opposition. Loyola Sullivan. It's another name I remember from when I was younger. Danny Williams. He was a bit of a, I suppose, a rebel in some ways. Early in his first term as premier, he took a more fiscally conservative approach to government, reduced the size of the cabinet following the election, and reformed government departments. After discovering that the province was in worse financial shape than previously thought and facing annual deficits of $1 billion, he made a number of controversial cuts. The construction of new hospitals and schools that had been planned under the previous Liberal government were put on hold, and the number of school and health boards were compressed. After a month-long strike, the government legislated public service employees back to work in April 2004 without a pay raise. Sorry, guys. But this is what happens when you allow the Liberals to lie to you. And, yeah, it's really nice that we're in the Trudeau era of transparent Liberal government. After a successful fight with the federal Liberal government to renegotiate the fiscal arrangement of the Atlantic Accord and a significant increase in oil prices, offshore oil revenues led to record surpluses for the provincial government. These new surpluses led to the Williams government reducing income tax and significantly increasing government spending. Almost like if you husband your money carefully, you have more of it to throw around. Then there was Dunderdale. I noticed they don't mention the ABC campaign that Danny Williams ran briefly. Anyway, Dunderdale. This would be Marshall, Paul Davis, and currently they're in opposition. Okay, the ideologies. Excuse me. So, the Progressive Conservative Party is a political party made up of two dominant and opposing factions: Social Democrats and Liberal Conservatives. So, Socialists and Liberals. In any case, just one moment. So, yeah, their electoral performance, same, opposition, majority, opposition, majority. Actually, they've never not had seats since they started. I'm going to guess that's no change. But, yeah, so then various party leaders. A name to definitely look for if you're interested in Newfoundland politics is Brian Peckford. And especially if you're interested in modern Canadian politics as well, because he is one of the people pushing against some of the federal restrictions due to the virus. You guys know what I mean when I do this. I'm not saying there's no virus, obviously. Well, okay, not obviously. Some people actually believe there was no virus. Fine. But in any event, the issue is the breach of the Charter. Brian Peckford helped write the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in this country. So if the guy who was involved in writing it says, yeah, something's wrong here, you should pay attention. In any case, folks, I am done for the day. I'm actually done for the week. I won't be doing a Thinking Man's Thursday this week. I am taking a holiday. Actually, by the time this actually goes out, I will probably be on holiday with Stormy. We're going to spend a week together doing some relationship building stuff. We're just spending time together to see how we do if we spend an extended period together. And of course, this is sensible relationship stuff because eventually we are going to want to live together. Anyway, I hope everything is going well for you guys. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye. Yes, I would like to stop recording.